Guys, welcome to the third annual Alamodome Audible Domey Award, the most prestigious award show, the only UTSA award show on the internet. Adrian, I always have a great time doing these with you. We actually had to go back and figure out if this is actually the third or the second, but we've confirmed that it is the third. So we did the Decade in Review 2019. Of course, we did the 2020 review, and now this is the 2021 Domeys. So thank you, Adrian, for joining me once more and for still bringing your bow tie. I'm wearing a very ill-fitted, very old suit. But we make an effort, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Got to clean up for the Domeys. It is the most extravagant, most festive evening that we're always very excited to host here at Alamodome Audible. And it is the third annual, so we appreciate everybody that's been around from the beginning. Come on, come all, if this is your first Domeys. It's a lot of fun. This is for the people, by the people. And we didn't do the fan poll in our first original Domeys in 2019, but it is in fact a People's Choice Award as of last year. And so, yes, big, tremendous thank you to everybody that jumped in the poll and contributed. We had a lot of foul play last year. We cleaned that all up. So these are true, authentic results that represent the UTSA fan demographic.
Yeah, so we had to close the open text field for nominations because we did have a little abuse of the system. But I want to thank everyone also for the outpouring support. I think that we had like 150 ballots submitted last year. This year we had like 600 plus. So that's like a 3 times increase, right? So that's awesome. And I think that kind of goes to show as we start to talk about the year that was of 2021, right? It kind of shows how much more buy-in and interest and just overall fun as well of the past season. And then also like the achievements outside of the football field. Obviously football is the biggest piece of it, no doubt. But, you know, we were able to grow as a podcast thanks to all of you guys' support, especially all of our Patreon supporters. And, you know, gave us a bigger platform as well. And then we can do more fun stuff like this and get more buy-in and just make it more fun, which has always been our number one goal for this podcast, is just to make it more fun to be a UTSA fan. So I think we're doing a good job there. We'll keep it up.
I tell you, winning is fun. Winning, they will come. And that's, you know, what we got to see here as sort of the cause and effect, right? In 2021, and this was like the grandiose arrival that all of us that have been supporting this program for the last decade plus have been waiting for, that knew was always possible and within reach. And the perfect storm finally came a brewing to San Antonio in 2021. And here we are now sitting right at the top of the mountain, looking at our future, looking at our destiny, right? And as we move into the AAC and leave CUSA behind, now going into our final year of it, CUTSA, I'm sorry. And this is just tremendous. What has all occurred here in 1 year, cataclysmic, generational. I mean, literally does not happen. Of the 120, 130 odd FBS programs that are in college football, this has probably happened to what, 15% of them, 20% of them, maybe. That might be an over.
I don't know. I mean, to have this many,
I couldn't even know,
like landmark achievements in a 12-month period, I think is pretty unprecedented.
It's the dream year. It's truly and really the dream year. I mean, and so that's the thing too about these Domeys, is that so many moments, so fantastic and so heavily weigh in on your memory and all of the great time that you had throughout the season. You're going to feel some type of way probably about some of these decisions that were made, because it's a hard choice with a lot of these moments that occurred here this year. It was also great. But yeah, 2021, it's hard to wrap your mind around everything that's happened here, but we'll try to do it here in the Domeys this evening.
Yeah, and it's funny because before we started recording, Adrian and I were looking back at the 2019 Domeys when we did the decade in review for, you know, that past 10 years. And I think, you know, all the achievements and all the nominations on this 2021 ballot alone just blow out a whole decade of UTSA out of the water. You know, it's crazy to think about. And, you know, hopefully we'll look back in 10 years and And these achievements will seem silly and small time and kind of insignificant in the grand scheme of things. But, it's a linear progression, or it should be. Hopefully it is. But we got to make sure that we enjoy these moments while they're here.
Well said. Very well said.
Yep. So a few bits of housekeeping before we start going through the nominations and announcing the winners. First off, if you're listening to the audio on the podcast feed, I highly recommend you guys switch to the video. Because of course we're wearing our suits, right? So, and Adrian's got his little champagne flute as well. I was slacking on that one. I missed the champagne. But Aaron, our amazing, brand guru, is putting some video graphic packages together. So we'll kind of show some multimedia. It's not just our face. So don't know what that's going to look like yet, but of course Aaron is, brilliant. So we thank him for that. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to seeing the final product. And of course, we're recording it pretty late. I mean, it's middle of February. And as many of you guys know, the reason that is I was away for quite a while. My brother was really sick and then eventually passed away. So, the award shows always have an in memoriam section. And of course, when I remember my brother, Corey, who, if you have been at the Burger King tailgates for many years, you might have met him there. He loved the tailgates, and being able to attend UTSA sporting events was a big joy in his life. So we will miss him greatly. And that's why I'm recording this so late. It's just, I haven't been home for a month. So, but it's going to be back in the routine, back at podcasting. And I think without further ado, I think we're ready to be started, Adrian.
Wow. Yeah. Let's go ahead. Tremendous. Let's do it. Let's jump in here. I mean, we've got the Domeys right here. We've got the stack of envelopes with the winners ready to go. So yeah, I mean, I can't wait any longer. The anticipation is enough of it. Let's go.
I have to come clean. Last year, I physically made little documents and put them in envelopes and took it out of the envelopes last year. I didn't do that this year because I couldn't even see them on the video. So maybe I'll bring it back next year. We're already brainstorming some ideas to take it to the next level for next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. As always.
Sorry for the slight step back on that one.
As always.
Well, let's get it started. Probably my favorite award. Well, my second favorite. The one that we end the show on is the one that the people care the most about. The one that's the most fun. That's Meme of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to that, we got to recognize best moments of the year. So we do actually split this between sports and non-sports because, of course, we want to cover everything off the field as well, with our beloved alma mater. But when it comes to sports, it was a tough year. The winner, I think, was pretty clear. But past that, there's a lot of stuff that I think in a normal year would have been an easy selection.
Easy.
Right?
Yeah. A lot of stuff that occurred. I mean, tremendous things that occurred for UTSA athletics. And I guess that's another specification that we need to make is that it doesn't just cover football, the Domeys. It's across all sports. And then, not just sports, like Jared said. Mm-hmm. And so it's all encompassing here. And the thing with the best moment of the year this year is that there was so much stuff that occurred off the field that was, for lack of a better term, just probably the most important thing that has ever happened at UTSA prior to that single event happening. It's really strange. And then there was a succession where that happened every 3 weeks, right? Yeah. So that's the incredible part. Now, of course, we'll go through all 4 spots right here. Very first moment was the grand opening of the Roadrunner Athletics Center of Excellence, the headquarters of UTSA Athletics, the dream facility that we've all been waiting for, that we could show recruits whenever they come to campus finally, right? And that where we're able to work out, able to rehabilitate, able to meet in a capacity that we've never been able to do so before, in this tremendous beacon of a shining light that sits atop Rattlesnake Hill on UTSA's campus. Just amazing. And we waited a long time for athletics facility like race, Jared, and we finally got it. Yeah,
it's when you think about it, it's the biggest athletics facility that's been built on campus since the Convocation Center opened up. That's crazy to think about. And I think the race ended up being so much nicer than we could have ever imagined, right?
Good point.
Like you see the dollar figure, and it's kind of hard to actually understand like what that's going to get you. But I watch a lot of videos of like Power 5 athletic facility walkthrough tours or whatever, and the race is truly right up there. I mean, it's just as good as what they have at places like Kansas State, Texas Tech. I've even been through A&M's facility. I had a friend that was a student manager there, and of course they made a lot of upgrades since I made that tour. But what they had back then, I think pales in comparison to the race today.
Wow.
Granted, that was 10 plus years ago, right? Before they were even in the SEC. But UTSA has come such a far way, and it's something that we waited so long for. And even having high expectations, it still blew those away, right? And it really feels like the physical manifestation of like this new era for UTSA athletics. Like on previous podcasts, we literally called it like a shining beacon on a hill, because when you drive on the 1604 loop, you can see the race up there on Rattlesnake Hill. So it really has like a bit of symbolism to it. Going into the football season, we actually asked in our like media roundtable, do you think that the race will have an impact on the football team in the season, like from actual like playing games? And most people seem to think like, yeah, it might. And then sure enough, UTSA goes has a 12-win season, wins their first conference championship in school history, beats a Power 5 program on the road. I mean, it's hard to directly correlate on-field results to off-field things, but when you look at what UTSA was able to accomplish, then I think like, yeah, maybe there is a chance that this actually turned into wins and losses for UTSA.
No doubt.
Which is phenomenal.
No doubt. Yeah. Right on the money. It definitely is an extremely tangible benefit that we really immediately saw positive effect from on the football field. And I don't know if UTSA wins a conference championship without the race existing. It's pretty phenomenal. So that when I it's funny, I think about like us waiting to get shovels into the dirt, because that was delayed for months. So like even whenever it was announced, even whenever it was funded, even whenever we cleared the space for it, it still felt like it really wasn't ever going to happen, right? And it sure enough, it's here finally. And you make a great point, surpasses all expectations. I remember that video tour walkthrough of the inside. Unreal facility. I think blew away anything that I had imagined for it to look like. Yeah.
And me, like the big nerd, when I saw they had like tablets on the squat racks where you could like put your reps in and it gets sent up to the cloud, like that was like cherry on top of your reps.
It's ridiculous.
And just seeing like the look on the players' faces when they walked in that facility for the first time, and not even just the football team, all the athletes were so excited about it. I remember like there was a lot of debate online, like, oh, it's a football facility, like it's not going to benefit the other sports. That hasn't been the case at all. I guess you could say football is like the primary tenant or whatever, primary beneficiary. But the soccer team was so jazzed about it. The softball team, like they love it, right? Like they're all taking pictures and videos and all that stuff. And
huge for everybody. Yeah, every athlete was stoked about it.
Yeah,
big time. And let's not forget those squat racks and everything else in there, custom UTSA branded. And so absolutely tremendous moment of the year right there, the opening of race. Next nominee is the invitation to the American Athletic Conference. Wow. UTSA's 3rd conference upgrade in their short 11-year history. It's pretty ridiculous, Jared. AAC, and we'll be there in just 2 seasons. Well, one more season, really.
Yeah, well, hopefully one more.
Yeah. So the magnitude of this, huge whenever the announcement was made. Of course, though, not something that people really understand or have got a chance to feel the full weight and effect of. But they certainly will. They certainly will in a couple of years.
Yeah, and I think that another part of this is that UTSA is acting like they're moving into this bigger conference. It's not just like something they stumbled into or something that happened coincidentally. Like we've seen them make this like, marked commitment to investing into all sports. Obviously football leads the charge, but there's the basketball practice facility that's on the way. They've already increased the operating budget for all sports with plans to even further increase, right? New baseball, new softball stuff is being planned. Eventually a new basketball arena, right? So it's not just like, oh, like UTSA got lucky and they're going into the AAC, like it's whatever. Like they're going into the AAC with the intention to compete for championships in all sports.
That's right.
So, like we were saying earlier with the race, that it kind of marked like a new era. I think moving to the AAC is definitely going to do that as well. And I think like we're seeing it already in football recruiting where there's it's a different tier of athlete. But I think that change on the Olympic side of the house is going to be even more pronounced. And I think also people are going to be shocked at how much more coverage and accessibility there are for those other non-football. Obviously for football, like we're going to be playing on ESPN a lot more and stuff like that. But like to be able to watch like a high quality stream of the baseball team, like on ESPN Plus and stuff, like there's a lot of value in that.
That's gonna be a big deal.
Yeah. So I don't think people, I agree with you. I don't think people fully understand or appreciate how big of a jump this is just yet. But I hope that people are looking at the current state of Conference USA and realizing what UTSA could have been in and realize how ugly and bad that scenario could have been if they would have been like left behind, quote unquote, in Conference USA. So yeah, it's a huge jump forward for UTSA, and I'm really excited to get into this new conference and start to learn more about these other teams, their programs, go visit their campus. I'm especially looking forward to the trips to New Orleans for the Tulane games.
But
yeah, I mean, obviously we'll have more to talk about the AAC moving forward, but it's sure feels great. Yeah, for
sure. It's that it fast tracks the the escalation of all of UTSA's athletics, right? Facility wise, program wise, recruiting wise, right? All of the standards sort of elevate, and UTSA is putting their money where their mouth is, and that kind of is proven in our next nominee for Moment of the Year is the Jeff Traylor extension, beating out those scumbags from Texas Tech who are just filthy, classless, throwing dollars around like it's some West Texas strip joint. No, sir, not here, not in Alamo City, where we have integrity and where we cross the line and fight to the death, brother. No way. UTSA extending Traylor stays home in San Antonio. Unbelievable. You talk about putting your money where your mouth is. Yeah. And
again, to go back to the point we made about UTSA acting like they're a bigger program now, is I think like even if Coach Traylor were like to get poached by another program, even after UTSA like keeps him away from Tech, like it still shows to future candidates that like, look, UTSA is here to play ball, right? Like they've got money to spend, they're willing to do it, they're gonna make it work, right? Like it's not just like at a lot of programs it'd be like, oh, Power 5 program's coming for our coach, like what can we do? It is what it is. Like there's no way we're going to be able to like compete with that. But all credit to UTSA. They dug their heels in and they figured out what it was going to take to get Coach Traylor to stay, and they did just that. And we're seeing those investments not only in Coach Traylor's salary, but also increased salary pool for assistants. Further investments into nutrition programs and weight training, all that good stuff, right? So, that's kind of the theme of the Domies this year, I guess, is like UTSA stepping up to the big boys table. And they're not at the head of the table yet, but you got to kind of take those steps to get closer and closer to the head, right? And they're doing that progression right now in front of our eyes. So it's really cool. And I think for me, I think this is the most shocking moment of the year, right?
No doubt the most shocking, most suspenseful, most thrilling. The wow moment of the year, no doubt, is Traylor getting extended.
We knew that race was coming. It was under construction. We knew that UTSA was probably going to have a pretty good season in football. We knew they'd be in contention, for a conference championship.
No, but I mean, half of us had already said goodbye to Traylor. Half of us had already just accepted it, said, okay, we're going to move on. Maybe we can still salvage the season. I mean, it was like acceptance mode for half of UTSA fans.
Well, yeah. And I think it really was that close to actually happening, right?
It was.
Based off people that I talked to, I mean, it was pretty much wrapped up, and UTSA just came in and did what had to be done to get them to stay. But yeah, I mean, you didn't see any denial on the Tech side that Traylor was not the number one, intentional candidate or preferred candidate or whatever.
Crazy.
And the fact they made the counter offers and all that, like it really was like a blow for blow negotiation. So it's really cool. And, it's not something I ever imagined would happen to UTSA, especially this early in the program's infancy. So yeah, really, really cool moment for sure.
And last nominee for moment of the year, UTSA taking home the hardware and winning their very first conference championship, the 2021 CUSA champions. Wow. Tremendous. In the Alamodome.
Yeah.
Against, Bailey Zappi and the firing Western Kentucky offense to beat them for the second time at that, in a tremendous back and forth, high scoring battle. It just game of the year in CUSA, maybe in the G5, and just unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. CUSA champions, UTSA.
Yeah, and it's the first one. And, like I've been saying for months, trophies last forever. They can't take them away. Or, I guess they can try to, right? Your recruiting violations or whatever, like what happened to
this year in NIL year,
USC,
so half the stuff is legal now, but I guess so. Yeah,
true.
Still recruiting is you can still recruiting violations.
But yeah, I mean, it was I think just like the personal, emotional feeling that everyone felt in the building that day, right? And again, another indication that UTSA is operating on a different plane now than they had been in the past. The crowd that was there was amazing, and not just the size, but the intensity, right? Like I know we talked about that on previous podcasts. Like the crowd size is bigger, but that's not what's most impressive. What's most impressive is like how bought in the fans are and how loud they are. Just the energy and the stadium is different, right? There were a lot more casual fans back in the day. It feels like the fan base is a little bit more hardcore now and understands football a little better and all that. And like a lot of students that know football better, that probably grew up going to a couple of games when they were in high school, middle school and stuff. It feels weird to say that people watched UTSA games in middle school and now they're in college at UTSA, but I think that's right if I'm doing the math right. Well, oh gosh, they could have even been in elementary school now that I think about it.
Yeah,
that's weird. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still not used to that. But first championship in school history. It's hard to beat that out.
It's really, really hard to beat that out. And in fact, the Domey goes to the CUSA championship by a landslide. I mean, it's not even close. 75% of the votes go to the CUSA championship, and deservedly so. I wish the race would have got a couple more votes, but even then, I think I probably would have voted for CUSA championship sitting here talking about it. I mean, it's just so climactic, right? The cherry on top, the greatest way to finish the season. You can't beat it. You can't beat it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the people chose correctly. Second place was Jeff Traylor contract extension, which I definitely understand. But it is a little crazy that the AAC invitation got so few votes. It only got it didn't even get 20 votes. That's kind of crazy to me. Right. I think like in retrospect, I think that will change. Like once UTSA actually gets into that conference and people start to get a feel for what it's like.
People remember what it was like being in CUSA and they're like, wow, this is great. Yeah, so much better.
Like,
so much
remember
nicer.
Like trying to look up Facebook streams and all that crazy stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see. But of course, here at the Alamodome Audible, we always have to keep the fan base grounded, or try to, right? So one of our annual categories that we have is the worst moment of the year.
Love that.
I think that we can do non-sports on this one. I don't know if we've ever done a non-sports worst moment of the year. That was the winner. But coincidentally, we had mostly football options for was worst moment of the year, which is kind of ironic because it was such a great season. But there was so much investment,
Right. I mean, that's what all of our eyes were drawn to. That's what we were all staring at. And you gotta celebrate every single moment, and part of that is celebrating those worst moments too, because without some of those trials, we never really get that sweet triumphant victory at the end that feels so good. And look, there wasn't a whole lot to pay attention to outside of football too, and that's just a fact of the matter.
Yeah, I think the expectations were pretty low for all of the sports. Yeah,
no doubt.
Well, the first nomination, and I think what you're saying about going through those lows to get to the highs, makes a lot of sense because I've seen many people make this argument about this game, but UTSA losing to North Texas in this dreary, cold, rainy game, also gives UNT the chance to go to a bowl game that season. But, it's just a really bad display of football. UTSA didn't come in ready to play. They lost their undefeated streak. It was just pitiful all around. But I don't know if UTSA wins the conference championship without losing that game. I think it really humbled them a lot. And they realize that they can lose to any team on any day, right? It's easy to get a big head when you haven't lost in so long and you forget what that's like. So I think there was a silver lining to this one. But, oh, gosh, man, on that day, it was brutally rough.
That 12-1 is always really, really going to sting. The fact that it was against UNT in Denton, a place that we've been winless ever since our debut. And it's been, man, just that one in particular was an ass whipping up and down the field. UTSA really didn't show up whatsoever, didn't care to be there, and it hurt. I mean, that one hurt. It was hard to watch that game, man. Man, that one was tough.
Yep. I think they benched the starting quarterback at halftime. Didn't even put him in the second half.
Yep. Frank didn't even return for the third quarter.
Yep.
It was already blown out.
5-6 fumbles or something like that. Man, that was ugly.
Yeah, it was very ugly.
Next worst moment of the year nomination were all the bowl game opt-outs. So some of these were guys preparing for the NFL draft. Some were injuries. There were a lot of grades issues, stuff like that. So overall, there were like 25 players that didn't make it to the bowl game or something like that.
This is good, but I think bowl game opt-out reactions would have been a better nominee for.
Yeah, people were kind of showing their ass, weren't they?
Yeah, it was bad. It was really, really bad. But the bowl game opt-outs happen, and unfortunately, it did leave us totally SOL as far as facing San Diego State. We had no chance against them without our starting horses, our main guys.
Yeah, and I think it also kind of dampened the mood for the bowl game, right? Like it should be such a great big celebration of the season. But I think for a lot of people, like, it kind of sucked the joy out of it for them, because I guess they just thought like there was no way that UTSA was going to win, or players didn't care about the game, whatever it might be. So that definitely was pretty sour for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing in comparison to the UNT loss, right? Like, I don't think it's any surprise that the bowl game opt-outs was not the winner of this category.
Yeah,
but worthy of inclusion for sure.
For sure.
Next nomination, it was kind of a last-minute one, so it might have been some recency bias here. But UTSA offensive coordinator Barry Looney Jr. leaving the Roadrunners for the Illinois Illini, a team that UTSA had just beaten a couple months prior, right? So that was kind of interesting.
In the season opener, in fact. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We knew we were going to get someone poached, but for what feels like almost a lateral move, which it's not, right?
Yeah, it's really not.
It's definitely not really not at all. Definitely not pay wise. He's getting a hell of a lot more money. But UTSA fan probably feels like that because of beating them earlier this year. So it is what it is. But this was bound to be one of the dominoes that fell after this season.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we said this on a podcast too. I was kind of surprised that Looney had lasted that long at UTSA, because I thought he was going to be like a one and done type of deal, that he would come in and have a good season and be gone the first opportunity. So I'm still grateful that UTSA got that second season out of him and got the conference championship trophy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So last nomination, it's kind of funny in hindsight with the way it played out, but the nominee was Daehu Dang and Cedric Alley Jr., both leaving the basketball program. So at the time when we set up the nomination form, we didn't know that Daehu was going to come back to the team. So of course that was a big shock. Right. We also didn't know that Cedric Alley had academic issues as well. So we just didn't really know what was going on at the time. But still, to have two of your starting five leave your basketball program mid-season is never a really good indication of the way that things are going. And that is panning out in the win-loss record for UTSA so far this year.
Yeah, 8-18 as of the time of this recording. Basketball has been absolutely abysmal, terrible to watch. It's a program just totally in shambles at this point, man.
Yep.
And with how low it's gotten, I think it's going to take a long time to sort of rebuild it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with the transfer portal, I guess you can do a quicker reload than you could in years past. But
Maybe.
oh boy, it's a long hole to climb out of. A long hole, a deep hole,
A deep hole
road.
to climb. Yeah,
Both of those things. Where UTSA's got to climb out of a deep hole and then walk a long road to get back to being competitive. Yeah,
it's crazy to think, you just had the best backcourt duo in the country, but that's where we are. That's the state of things right now. And so it's going to be a while for basketball to get back to it. I mean, I think that's a hell of a nominee for worst moment of the year.
Yeah, I think
basketball as a whole, right?
Right. Like if UTSA was more of a basketball school and this happened, oh man, this might win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No doubt.
Like, can you imagine if Frank Harris and Rashad Wisdom both quit the team like halfway through the football season? Like, gosh, like that'd be brutal.
That's the equivalent of what's happened, though.
Yeah, look how much people freaked out for a couple players missing a bowl game, like just one game, right?
Right.
Yeah, definitely. I think this one would probably get more votes if UTSA was more of a basketball program, but it's understandable. I guess it should come as no surprise that the victor here was the loss to North Texas up and then, and that nasty rainy weather garnered 73% of the vote.
Oh, man, the week before the freaking championship, you had the undefeated record right there, and it hurts.
Man, an undefeated regular season would have been really cool, but if we would have had a 12-0 start and then lost the conference championship, I'd take the conference championship over that any day. Easy.
So, oh my gosh. Yeah, you're right about that.
Everything happens for a reason.
I mean, we'll call that the story. We needed it to win the next week. We needed that one.
Yeah, it's like a Disney movie, man. Minor setback for a major comeback. All right, well, moving on to the next category. This is the non-sports story of the year. So earlier I was saying, I don't know if we ever had a worst moment of the year be off the field, but we did have a worst moment when the non-sports story of the year, we keep it a little ambiguous by using story. That was the incident with Dr. Ricardo Romo departing the university just before his planned retirement. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get into it. First nominee is for the first time in school history, UTSA had 2 colleges change their name after receiving massive donations from benefactors. So the first one was the College of Business being renamed the Alvarez College of Business. And then I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I think it's the Klesse College of Engineering.
Klesse, yep.
Yeah. Both of these donations came from non-alumni, which I think is rare and really interesting. I don't think you see that too much in higher education. So it was cool to see. Hopefully this is going to become the norm where stuff like this happens every year. Hopefully this is one of those things where we look back 10 years from now, we kind of giggle at how small that feels. But for to be the first time that happened for UTSA and then for it to happen twice in a year, I think was pretty substantial. And that's $40 million of money coming in to, fund scholarships and all that.
It's unprecedented money for UTSA is what it is. I mean, you think about that dollar amount coming in even like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, especially, it's just never would have happened in one single season. And it, like we always talk about the parallels of kind of how football, athletics and academics kind of climbing the ladder at the same time, right? This is it. This is a huge example of that, right? 40 million. So it's not just athletics that's getting more. It's everything that's getting more, and that ties into the next nominee on this, and that is UTSA finally receiving Tier 1 designation.
Yeah, of course, the heavy favorite in this category. Of course, I was a little surprised at how competitive the voting was. I thought that this would be like a 90%er. But yeah, it's huge for UTSA. It's absolutely monumental. And I think that maybe something that most people won't realize is that this is like like the first splash of water over the dam, right? And then now it can be like a waterfall, because having that designation opens up so many grant and research funding, recruiting for professors and graduate students and all of that. So this is really just like a beginning for UTSA. We've seen the research expenditures really just massively increase over the past 3 years. And now that UTSA has this Tier 1 R1 Carnegie designation, we're going to see an even more jump forward. I think especially with funding on like the federal side and like the collaboration with other research institutes and stuff like that. Like we're going to start seeing a lot more news articles of like cool stuff being done on UTSA's campus or with UTSA academics, with UTSA technology and all of that. So
no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, in my book, this is the biggest moment of the year, even including all the football successes. You only hit tier one once, right? Like hopefully UTSA is going to win a lot of conference championships throughout its football program's upcoming history, but you only go tier one once, unless you slack and you fall back into tier two and you come back. But I don't see that really happening for UTSA. So
that's right.
That's right. It's huge. It's huge. There's no words.
The weight of tier one for the university, the degree. Yeah, it's priceless. It really truly is. Yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
But I would also say so as the next nomination, and that is merging with the Southwest School of Arts. Huge merger for UTSA, and kind of opens up the field for other mergers kind of happening and continuing to happen in the future, right? And so,
oh man, hopefully
so, right? But yeah, I think this was a great thing for UTSA.
Yeah, and I like it too because it shows that UTSA is not just focused on the research side. Obviously a fine arts school isn't really getting you to tier one, and that's not like what the focus is. But I like that UTSA has that balance between the humanities and the STEM fields, right? That's always a criticism that you see, not just at UTSA, but I think at most major universities, especially state-funded universities, is that there's too much focus on STEM and business, not enough on the fine arts. So it was great to see UTSA make such a massive investment in those areas. And I think from a strategic standpoint, it's great for UTSA as well, because it really gets them more deeply entrenched in downtown, right? Well, like we know that's a huge focus for UTSA, and merging with the Southwest School of Arts just opens up so much like square footage or acreage or whatever you want to call it downtown. Right. It like gives them that
growth
footprint.
opportunity. Yeah, growth opportunity. Yeah, especially. And UTSA's fine arts has really needed more resources.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Tremendously. So it's really big for UTSA to sort of put that investment into there, because it's an area that certainly needs it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's an excellent one. And we talk about a whole bunch of dollars being a big part of this, and that kind of goes with the last nomination for non-sports story of the year. That's $40 million donation from Mackenzie Scott. 40 M's, 40. Wow.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar, Mackenzie Scott is the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos. So this is a lot of PayPal and Amazon money that's getting distributed back into communities, and Mrs. Scott really wanted to make a focus to make sure that a lot of the money that she was giving away for philanthropic reasons was going to underserved communities, obviously with UTSA being a Hispanic serving institution and one of 15 tier one HSIs in the country, which I'll always be so proud of that. Like, that is so cool. Like, to me, that's like what UTSA is, like, even before they got that official designation, right? It's like one of the best research institutions for Hispanic students in the world, really. So it's really cool to see Mackenzie Scott recognize that UTSA gives that value, right, to the country and to our community. And what between that and the donations for the name change of the college, that's $80 million that's going back into the endowment of the university. And it's impossible to even start to think about the impact that's going to have on students' lives.
Yeah.
Like how many scholarships and faculty members, fixing old desk and chairs and buildings and updating computer software. I mean, it's going to have such a massive impact on the university in so many different ways. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's phenomenal, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And so the Domey goes to, without a doubt,
surprise,
tier one designation for UTSA. No doubt about it. That's where the Domey goes for non-sports story of the year.
Yep. 67% of the vote Total of 279 votes. Like I said, I thought he was going to run away with it. And actually, the $40 million donation from Mackenzie Scott performed pretty well, 24%. So,
yeah, that was pretty cool. You know, it was for, hey, money talks, baby. You know, yeah, that's big time. Next, back into the sports world. Excellent. Athlete of the year. Where do you even begin with this? You know, I mean, so many fantastic nominees for Athlete of the Year.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, probably the biggest like face or image, or you, if you will, around UTC athletics right now, Sincere McCormick. I know, you know, Tariq Woolen wasn't even a nominee, right? I think Tariq Woolen is going to go pretty high in the draft, and, you know, maybe next year he might be nominated for a Domey of some sort. But Sincere McCormick, I think, really helped put UTS on the map nationally this year. You know, he got a lot of exposure for his play. Sure. Rushed for 1,479 yards and scored 15 touchdowns, and got invited to the draft as a junior. So,
that's right.
Invited to the combine.
The combine.
We hope he gets invited to the draft, but hopefully he just gets selected in the draft. But yeah, great season for him.
My man's. Yeah.
Great career, really.
And then, there you go. Great career, and salute to Sincere, but a fantastic season. And then right next to him is his right-hand man in front of him, Frank Harris. Yeah. 3,743 yards of total offense, 33 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions. By far his most fantastic season as a quarterback, not just at UTSA, but ever. Mm-hmm. The guy is just a phenomenal, not just quarterback, but team leader, team captain. Was absolutely the motor and the engine and the spirit and the soul of this team. I don't think you can give Frank Harris enough credit for how he, you know, championed this team all throughout the season, week in and week out, really on his shoulders.
And the connection he brought to the San Antonio community, you know, and all that, like the youth sports and all that is massive as well. Mm-hmm. And was our first NIL deal at Alamodome Audible. Of course, we can't forget that.
My man's.
Yes. So those, you know, we didn't want to go all football on these nominations, so we did mix it up. The next nomination.
Good call.
Yeah, the next nomination is a little awkward. It's Chad Sowell. He was first team All-Conference USA for men's golf and led UTSA to its first at-large bid for an NCAA regional. So they'd been to regionals in the past, but it was from winning their conference tournament. So first time they got selected for an at-large bid. Mm-hmm. They took 39th place in those regionals, but what makes it awkward is that Chad decided to transfer to Sam Houston State after he was nominated.
How does that happen? Sam Houston's balling like that? I mean,
they have a great golf program at Sam Houston. I guess like they have some like school, like if you're going to be, what do they call it? Like the guys that work at the golf course. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, they have programs for golfers. So I guess they're pretty all in on golf. I guess we need some NIL deals for the golf players. Going to stick around. I don't know.
Yeah, man, it's tough to be Chad. Oh, that's tough.
I know that's tough.
However, I love the last nominee.
Yeah. So this one, it kind of came out of left field, maybe, because I think that last year would be the most logical, or sorry, the year before last would have been the most logical year for him to be nominated. But Keaton Wallace, drafted into the NBA G League in 2021, has been on absolute fire. Right now, he's averaging 18.6 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game, and 5.4 assists per game. Those are the league. That's Kobe numbers, dude. That's crazy.
It's ridiculous. 18, 5 and 5. Are you kidding me? In the G League, Keaton Wallace, no one saw it coming. I mean, he's balling out of his mind. He's going to go to the league, and he's probably going to be a pretty significant force. I think, and it's crazy, I was just saying this the other day, we're going to get to a point where average NBA fan recognizes Keaton Wallace's name.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know average NBA fan, but I do
like
think
average
hardcore
NBA fan that can fan. I don't know if because average NBA fan can list some contributors for you. In most cases.
I was gonna say like I definitely see him carving out a role as like a really good role player. Right,
if he's a sixth man somewhere, dude, absolutely Absolutely.
But hey,
And,
I've obviously incorrectly doubted him in the past, and he has massively proved me wrong already at the G League level. So I hope he keeps proving me wrong, and I hope he goes on and becomes an NBA All-Star. I mean, I'm not going to doubt anything at this point.
and the Domey for Athlete of the Year goes to
Sincere McCormick.
Oh man,
Is this one an upset?
It's a huge upset.
I thought Frank had it.
It's
man.
Frank
Honestly.
Harris. I think it's gotta be Frank's, man. Look, this year it was Frank's team. The year prior, last year it was Sincere's team, but this year it was Frank's team, man. And I think Frank deserves it.
Mhm.
And that's not to take anything away from Sincere. I love
No, not at all. Not at all.
best ever. But I really think Frank was my MVP this year, man. So it hurt. That's my quarterback.
Well, the good news for Frank is he's got another chance to win a Domey, right?
That's right.
He'll be back next year, maybe another year after that. I guess we'll see.
We'll see.
So yeah, I do. I mean, it's so early, but I do think Frank will probably be the club favorite for the 2022 Domey.
I will say it was a pretty good poll. Frank Harris getting 37.5% of the vote to Sincere McCormick's 55%. So there was a little bit of back and forth there. Yeah, a little bit back and forth there.
Well, the next one I think is going to be a pretty obvious selection, so we might run this one a little bit. That's Team of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what more needs to be said about football. We've talked about football for most of this award ceremony. Obviously, they won 12 games. They won a conference championship. They went to a bowl game. They had a P5 win. Yada, yada, yada. You guys know all that, right? Let's go ahead and skip to the other nominations. Mm-hmm. I had just mentioned that men's golf had their first at-large bid for NCAA regional last year. Tremendous. So very, very deserving team right there. Women's golf, man, low-key a powerhouse. They went to their third straight NCAA regional appearance. I think 6 total in program history. And last year, 3 golfers earned all conference honors. So
yeah, they're starting to become a problem. They're starting to become a headache, a thorn in the buds of some schools here. Yeah,
they are no doubt ready to move into the AC and women's golf. They're ready to roll over there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Lastly, I mean, maybe this was kind of a reach of a nomination, but there weren't a lot of great options here. And
say it how it is.
Football more than made up for it, right? But there weren't really a lot of other teams that we could have put on there. Maybe Quidditch will get in next time this problem comes around. But baseball finished their season with a 22-26 record. And I know at first glance that's a very underwhelming record. That's obvious. I agree with that. But when you really watch this team week by week, they were so fun to watch.
They're gritty.
Yeah, Pat Hallmark had these guys playing with great energy. And you can really see they were building to something bigger, right? So I'm really hopeful that they're going to kind of break through in 2022. While they didn't have a winning record, it was one of the best teams in school history, right? When you look at the strength of schedule that they played, because they scheduled really, really hard. Their strength of schedule, I think, was top 50 in the country or top 100, something like that. So they actually finished with one of the highest rankings in school history when you look at the computer rankings and all that stuff. And really just went toe-to-toe with the best teams in America. And they didn't win a lot of those games, but to go to 13 innings against LSU or whatever it was, 12 innings against UT, when you're making those blue blood, profitable baseball teams, have to go into extra innings 2 nights in a row to get a series win over you, that's a huge step forward for this program. And I hope with more investment in facilities and all of that we're just going to continue to see growth in this area.
So I'll say that we did drop the ball on this one because this nomination should have gone to women's soccer.
Oh, you're so right.
Women's soccer had an unbelievable 10-5-4 season, over 600 winning percentage, won the first round of the CSA tournament against North Texas. And more so than any of those accomplishments, which they balled, but they got this insane buy-in from UTSA fan and UTSA student, unlike I've ever seen for any soccer program or any program outside of football, really, or basketball. And you had kids lined up all the way around the pitch, all the way in Houston, rocking UTSA. I mean, it was this huge buy-in. into UTSA women's soccer this season. So they got the people on board with them and the fan base on board with them. They won some games in exciting fashion, some head turners, and
they won a lot of games in exciting fashion.
It's sudden death, right? Yeah, they played better with their backs against the wall, all sorts of clutch. So I'll say Alamodome Audible takes the L on this one. Jared.
Yeah, you're right about that. We're not perfect. We strive to be the best that we can, but we do drop the ball. I do apologize to the pit crew on the oversight.
Hindsight's 2020.
This is going to keep me up at night, to be honest with you.
Hindsight's 2020.
I know.
Now
it hurts. And so I think you failed to mention they actually made their first conference tournament appearance in program history, or sorry, first Conference USA tournament appearance in program history.
Right, and they got a first round win against North Texas. Yeah,
Monumental.
And I'll say maybe don't miss out on too much sleep, because even if they were the fourth nominee, this was a landslide for team of the year at 97.5% of the vote. It is the Conference USA champions, your UTSA Roadrunner football team. Congratulations. The Domey goes to football.
For as much as a landslide as that category was, arguably it was even more of a landslide for game of the year, because the only 4 nominations were all football games. There are some baseball games that I think probably could have been in the mix. I definitely think like those 2 overtime games against North Texas and women's soccer definitely could have,
no doubt,
made the list on a normal year where you didn't have like these cardiac football games. And also, the football team played more games than usual too. They played 2 extra games, like conference championship and a bowl game, right? So they also had that going in their favor. But the 4 games that were nominated are probably pretty obvious. The first game at West Kentucky, where Clarence Hicks had the game-winning interception, with UTSA having their backs against the wall, Bailey Zappi having the ball with like less than a minute left
in Bowling Green.
In the red zone right there in Kentucky. And then, of course, the second game against Western Kentucky, which was the conference championship game. We all know how that one went.
That's right, sir.
The football game against UAB to win the Western Division title, of course.
Catch that won the West, Mr. Oscar Cardenas, my dog.
A play that none of us will ever forget.
With the 2-1
tip
right
pass.
there, baby. Oh, man.
And then lastly, a game that, man, it might fade into a bit of obscurity as the years pass. But it was such a huge win at the time.
What a shame for this game to fade into obscurity.
I know. But like, that's a good thing if that happens, because it just shows that UTSA is just continuing to compete and win at a high level. But the road win against Memphis was fantastic. The game was broadcast on
same game of all time. UTSA is down 21-0. Game's already lost. We lost the game already. And then just come out, dude, fresh off the ropes like Rocky Balboa, dude, and just started swinging haymakers. Oh man, yeah, that game is unbelievable. But whenever we do our recollection episode on that game in 5 seasons, yeah, that's going to be a special one.
Definitely, I think it was the largest comeback in UTSA school history for a football team.
For sure.
Obviously the walk-off kick from Hunter Duplessis. And I remember going into that game, the dialogue was like, if UTSA is going to become a top G5 program, they pretty much have to win this game.
Have to. Right?
Because like Memphis was playing with a true freshman quarterback. UTSA was coming off that Power 5 win against Illinois. There was so much momentum for the Roadrunners. And it would have felt like such a letdown to not beat Memphis, especially thinking how the game started too. UTSA was getting beat badly, right?
Destroyed.
It was really ugly. They didn't look like they belonged on the field. So I think like that win, while it wasn't a conference game at the time, will be in the future. While it didn't matter for like the conference rankings and all that stuff, I think it gave this team a lot of confidence and kind of showed them that they're like a team of destiny, right? Like they're going to get some balls that went their way, right? That we won't get those bounces every year, obviously. But
no doubt.
It did not win the Domey. The Domey, in fact, did not go to the conference championship game either, nor the thriller against Western Kentucky in the first half of the season. No, what ended up being the divisional title game against UAB is your Domey 2021 Game of the Year.
Yes, rightfully so. The catch that won the West. As time expires, well, sort of expires, Oscar Cardenas falling on the tipped pass, in the end zone to beat UAB in just the most unreal fashion on Alamodome Audible Road Trip weekend, mind
That's
you.
true.
It was just such a special moment that will live in infamy, the greatest moment of all time in UTSA history. If Oscar Cardenas's catch would have been listed as best moments, I would have selected that as best moment over winning CUSA championship, because that moment, into that individual moment, dude, I don't know if it will ever be surpassed. That play is insane. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it was a storybook ending, and I don't know, man. It's just like we're never going to forget that day, right? No matter what this program goes on to be or achieve, whether they become a Power 5 program one day, go to a New Year's Six Bowl, I think we're always going to cherish that day for a really long time. I mean, just like how those of us that were there for the first game felt, in the grand scheme of things, the play on the field didn't matter that much, but we'll never forget how we all personally felt, and like the sense of like pride that it brought us, I guess, right? So I mean, that's how I'm going to carry that game with me for the rest of my life. I'm sure it's going to be the same for most people. Yeah.
Pride is a great word for that, because it was a San Antonio to San Antonio connection with the 210 on the side of the helmet in the Alamodome. Oh, don't get no more essay than that, baby. Yeah.
So another category that I always have a lot of fun putting together, and it can be a little challenging as well. So if you guys ever have any nominations, definitely hit us up in a DM or tweet or whatever. But we like to do Alum of the Year every year, and sometimes it can be hard to find 4 that truly excelled and that we know about. Obviously, people do amazing stuff that we never hear about. Like the restaurant BJ's.
Yeah, absolutely. BJ's Brew House.
Casual brew house. Yeah. The CEO of that company is a UTSA alumnus. And I had no idea until just recently.
The CEO of BJ's Brew House is a UTSA alumnus.
Yeah.
Wow, that just messed me all sorts of up. What?
But yeah, nonetheless, tough competition this year. We had 2 great candidates that both received a lot of votes. First off, of course, was April Ancira. No surprise that she was nominated this year, VP of Ancira Auto Group, and just did amazing work raising funds for the UTSA student section to attend the conference championship game.
What were they calling her on Twitter? The Madre, I can't remember. Someone's gonna have to tell us what it was. Damn, it was such a good nickname for her. But yeah, I mean, spearheading the charge to raise money to make sure that UTSA students could go in to the championship game for free, as they do every other game in the Alamodome, and it happened. But I mean, she has led the charge for San Antonio businesses, and specifically the big wig San Antonio businesses, the car dealerships, right? I mean, the commercial businesses, the people that you see when you're watching your Spurs and UTSA game during the commercial break.
Yep.
She spearheaded that charge, the visual business community, to support UTSA, and she's done a hell of a job.
Yeah, definitely. And she's, even before all the fundraising stuff, she was just doing an amazing job of supporting the program and spreading the good word of UTSA, getting people on board. Just to wrap it up, though, I'll say, if you guys want to hear more about April, go listen to our buddy Zach's interview with her on the SA Podcast Network. He's one of our friends, one of our patron donors. It was a great interview. I had a really good time learning more about April and her story and all that. So great listen. Definitely recommend that one.
Amazing.
Next nominee is actually his second time to get nominated. Yeah, that's Tim Morrow. He's the CEO of the San Antonio Zoo. And the San Antonio Zoo has been going through an incredible time. I think they've expanded twice, pretty major expansions in the past couple of years. And Tim is an amazing supporter of UTSA as well. He's super involved, and he's very visible on Twitter. Does a great job promoting the program as well. 2 other names that might be lesser known. First is Christian Menifee.
I'd also like to say Tim Morrow did a real good job of getting other businesses there in the downtown area to support UTSA and to get he was a big part of the whole light up San Antonio and all that good thing, that one. Right? But even before then, he was always kind of hitting the UTSA drum. So shout out to Tim, man.
Yeah, definitely,
no doubt.
So next up is Christian Menifee. So Christian was elected as the Harris County attorney at the young age of 32.
That's right.
And so he oversees 300, 400 different attorneys that work for the Harris County Attorney's Office. So it's a hugely powerful and influential position. To do that at just age 32 is phenomenal. And not only, is he incredibly young for someone you would typically see in a position like that, he's actually the first African-American to ever be elected for the position in Harris County. And that's a huge accomplishment. Yeah,
that's right. We covered it on the pod whenever it was first announced.
Yeah, I think so.
We made a little announcement about it. Yeah, I mean, absolutely tremendous. And to do it here in H-Town, Harris County, phenomenal.
Yep. And then our last nominee for Alum of the Year is Christopher Garcia. Christopher was named to the Senior Legislative Affairs Advisor position for the Biden administration after Biden was inaugurated. Obviously he's a really young guy as well. I couldn't find what year that he graduated, but I think he's in his 30s if I had to guess. And he's done a lot of great work, advocating for Mexican Americans and writing a lot of policies to help people in South Texas and stuff like that. And that's just a huge position to be a senior legislative advisor to the president. So definitely congratulations to Christopher. Looking forward to following his career.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the Domey goes to?
Yes, sir. Without a doubt. April Ancira of the Ancira Auto Group, alumnus of the year. Big shout out to April. I mean, this is the sort of vocal support that we needed from the San Antonio business community. And she has decided to be the face of that UTSA support from the San Antonio business community. Man, tremendous.
All right, that was great. We'll have to figure that one out for next year.
We will, though. We will get some performances going on, Grammy style. Yeah, it's huge.
All right. Well, our next category is best play of the year, and again, mostly football, all football this year, actually, to be specific. First off, obviously, no surprise, this was nominated to Oscar Cardenas's catch against UAB to win the divisional title for the Roadrunners. We've already talked at length about that one, but just a beautiful, picture-perfect moment. Just magical. Next up is one of my favorite plays. I think is a little bit underrated, and that was Sincere McCormick's 81-yard run against Rice, something like that.
Yeah. I'll give that as underrated moment. That was one of his best runs of the season, honestly. Yeah,
and so he didn't score, right? And I feel like that's why it's a little bit underrated, but an 81-yard run is going to be a touchdown almost every play, right? Because usually you start past the 20. But man, just another reminder of how great of a running back Sincere was. Another play against Rice that was nominated was Trevor Harmon's pick six. And it's not just that he intercepted a pass and took it back for a touchdown. He threw up the deuce at a Rice player.
Yeah, it was the deuce chunk. It's the deuce chunk. It's not in particular the play itself, the scenario itself. It's the deuce chunk that he threw whilst he was within the 10-yard line and crossing the threshold to be in the end zone. Just unbelievable. Amazing. And didn't get flagged for it. Did not get flagged for it. Wow, what a moment.
I know. I still can't believe that he didn't. They must have just not seen it. But lastly, one that I think might be my personal favorite from a pure football perspective.
I know it's your favorite.
Clarence Six diving interception to win the game against West Kentucky for the first time.
Amazing.
Just amazing athletic display. The amount of ground he covered leaping backwards and then to actually catch the ball. I mean, to even just get a finger on it from where he started the play at or where he was at when the ball was released to where it ended the play. Even if he just got a finger on it, that would have been amazing. But for him to actually get the interception to end the game, because I think they would have had another play left, right? I think that was third down. that he got the
Yeah,
interception, if I
that's the
remember
thing.
correctly.
Everything was going perfectly for WKU and
Mhm.
Bailey Zappi as they made their way down the field with plenty of time on the clock, and they were just moving the ball, moving the chains. And watching the game, it was crazy because they hadn't scored yet. And so watching you felt like we have a lot, even though nothing was going right for UTSA, I still somehow felt good about it, right? And sure enough, he goes back to intercept that ball and seal the victory. That was pretty much on the goal line. I think he intercepted that ball like on
The 5, the 10,
yeah, like
I
the
don't
5
know.
or 6 yard line. So it's ridiculous because they were quite literally one play away from winning that game.
Yeah. Also, I need to make a correction here. I misspoke. It was not Sincere's 81-yard run against Rice that was nominated. That was a backup option, and I typed it incorrectly in my notes. The Sincere McCormick run that was nominated was the 75-yard touchdown against UTEP, which I think opened UTSA's
It's a
offense.
much better selection for
Yeah. Yeah.
sure.
Much better.
It did open it up, and that was really the coming out party of like, we are dominating everybody and there's nothing anyone can do about it. It was us just throwing UTEP around a little bit out there. That was great.
If
Yeah,
someone's
and that play was
watching,
it.
yeah, if someone's watching this video like years in the future, they might think it's weird that we picked a touchdown run against UTEP, but like it was a really hyped game, and like UTEP
It
like
was
went
though.
to
It
a
was a
bowl that
yeah,
season, right? So that was kind of a once in a blue moon season for UTEP. So it did feel like a really huge play at the time, and I think it still was in hindsight.
for sure it was. I would say so.
But nonetheless, the Domey for the 2021 Play of the Year goes, of course, to Oscar Cardenas and his amazing touchdown catch on a tip pass from Frank Harris with time expiring
Unbelievable.
right in front of the UTSA student section. Man,
There's no doubt about it.
no,
There's no doubt about
it's
it.
easy. All right, well, let's keep it moving. We're gonna do Fan of the Year, and this man,
Love this category. Love this category.
there were so many people that I had on like my working list of like official nominees, and it was really hard, honestly, to narrow it down. And this was actually the voting that was most, I guess, evenly distributed. I think, yeah, I think we had the most votes for non-winning nominees on this one. We'll start going through the nominees. First up is Josh V. Josh, I'm sorry, I forgot and couldn't find your last name, but I know it starts with a V. So you guys may remember Josh for the big rowdy head tattoo that he got on his thigh with Conference USA champions
Oh my
on it.
gosh, dude. The freaking tattoo. Beautiful,
And
beautiful
I had the
work on that
privilege of seeing
tattoo.
it in person at the Frisco Bowl. So Josh, it was good meeting you. Next up is Gabby the Great. So Gabby quickly captured the hearts of the UTSA fan base. She had met Coach Treeler at an event on campus and told her that she had donated part of her McDonald's salary to help the football team. So that was incredible. And then she kind of became a fixture of the team, right? She was at practice pretty often. And just pure joy, right? Like her smile was so infectious. And I think
Really,
like, that really meant a lot to the players.
really embodied Trailers kind of talk. You know, he always says every like, every retweet, every reply, every comment, every dollar, $10, $5, it all counts, right? There's super, super cool. And then a staple in the Fan of the Year category nominee, Mr. Taco Joe. Shout out Taco Joe and the Bad Birds. What up? Yeah, I mean, come on. The guys at every single game across all sports, always supporting. I mean, you talk about a fan. There is no fan that fans as much as Taco Joe.
Yeah, as much as Bootleg Bentley is like a shoe-in to get nominated every year for Meme of the Year, like Taco Joe's the same way for his support for UTSA.
That's right.
But specifically, the reason why he was nominated this year was like the growth of the student section and the coordination and cheers, right? Like Taco and his buddies are hugely instrumental and setting that tone, setting that energy, right? Like they're there early, like they're helping people like learn the players and the traditions and all of that. And once the team started winning a couple games, I think you really started to see how much work that Joe and his buddies had put into kind of developing that student section and making something that I think we're all like super, super proud of.
Yeah, well, and we talked about it with the guys on Birds Up podcast, just sort of how important it is for the students to go and get those premier seats and to be there involved watching the game, not passively, but actively.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we talk about, some of the stuff that the student section reacts to being pretty high level occurrences on the football field that, normal fan really isn't engaged with or really even realizes is happening. Sometimes our student section is tapped in, bro.
It's like when they call like illegal hands to the face, like the student section knows like, oh, that's good for us because we're on offense. The defense messed up, like that's pretty high level, It's like, that's not just casual student college student football IQ right there. So our fourth nomination, and I'm sorry, I couldn't find her last name, but that was Farah. And so Farah started the fourth quarter tradition with the cell phone lights that caught on. Was that the UAB game that started, or was that the conference championship game?
No, that was the conference championship game. We were losing. We were down and backs against the wall. It's during a timeout, or I guess a quarter change, right? Commercial timeout, TV break. And in the middle of the huddle on the sideline, while Traylor is addressing the team, there's a entire moment of just infatuation with what's occurring around them as the entire Alamodome lights up with the cell phone spotlight, and they go completely silent. Everyone stops talking and just sort of basks in it for a second, like, holy cow, and goosebumps. And then fourth quarter comes out, UTSA dominates and wins the conference championship. Yeah,
just a beautiful moment, and a lot of great pictures and videos that I think we'll all cherish for a long time. I do want to give one last honorable mention. He was not a formal nominee, but the guy that rushed the field early. Was that the UAB game? I think it was UAB game. It might have been the conference championship. I don't know. But the guy like recorded himself on TikTok of like rushing the field, and he was like trying to hide behind the players and stuff. Man, that was
the conference. Wild. It was a conference championship because he was I want to say, or maybe it was UAB game.
I don't remember.
Whatever because they let the players on. Did they let the players on the field after UAB too? Yeah. Because at the end of the TikTok video, more people start coming onto the field. So at that point, like he's in the clear, right? There's like, it's all good because everyone's coming onto the field. So it's one of those.
Yeah. I love that video.
I think it's a championship
game. I thought it was worthy of an honorable mention there.
No doubt. That was incredible for sure.
But the winner of the 2021 Fan of the Year Domey, very prestigious award, is of course Gabby the Great. Right? I don't think that's any surprise. Gabby, she seems like a very special person, and her love for UTSA like really shines through, right? So, I mean, I loved watching her interact with the team, and the players just seemed to really enjoy her support and getting to know her and all that. And I know Coach Traylor really appreciated her and all that she does, and just her love for UTSA is very authentic, right? So very deserving. Hard decision, it's really, really hard.
Great list of nominees.
The next category, again, I think there is an overwhelming favorite here, and the voting held up on that. This is actually our biggest landslide victory. That's for Coach of the Year.
No doubt.
Of course, Jeff Traylor. Other nominees include Karen Aston, who brought some incredible and much needed infusion of energy to the women's basketball program. And, just like we predicted in our basketball season preview, like they're not going to win a whole lot of games this year because the talent level is not where it needs to be. Like, everyone knows that. But they've been respectable. They've been fun to watch. I've watched a couple of their games and they fight hard. So I still feel really good about nominating Coach Aston. And it's a much needed turnaround.
It's still the most landmark hire UTSA's ever had in UTSA athletics history. Never got a coach of this caliber for any team ever.
Yeah.
It's a Final Four coach.
And might not for a long time. That's going to be hard to surpass, honestly.
It's insane.
Yeah, definitely. Next up is actually a UTSA veteran coach, John Knauer for the men's golf team has been, I think he's UTSA's most tenured coach, if I'm not mistaken. So for him to get that big breakthrough of like taking the men's team to the NCAA regionals for the first time as an at-large bid, is huge. He got a big contract extension this year,
What an
really well
accomplishment.
deserved, right?
Yeah,
So can't wait to see that men's team continue to grow as they head into the American.
that's awesome.
And then lastly, Summer Batiste, women's golf coach. I mean, like we said earlier, they're just straight up dominating to go 3 straight years to the NCAA regionals. Probably going to go again this year based off what I've been seeing in the results early on in the season. But of course, the Domey goes to Coach Traylor. You know, not only did he win on the field, he won all of our hearts, and he is nominated in the next category for Meme of the Year. Right? What more could you possibly ask for? You know, he wins games. You know, he treats the players right, and he's got some fire tweets. I mean,
he's got some fire tweets. I mean, yeah, he's a coach's coach. He's a fan's coach. He's a player's coach. He's everyone's coach. And he is the man of San Antonio, the king of San Antonio. Spurs gave him the 210 jersey just a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
I mean, you know, he's the guy. He's got the key to the city, baby. And Jeff Traylor, we salute, you know. Long may he reign.
Yep. All right, well, let's wrap it up. This is the moment we've all been waiting for.
Oh, baby.
The Meme of the Year.
I cannot wait.
The biggest honor any UTSA supporter could garner, in my opinion, is to win the Meme of the Year award.
There is no more prestigious award that can go to any UTSA poster at all. It is the Meme of the Year, the Domey for Meme of the Year. I mean, it's highly coveted, Jared. And I tell you, you know, there's a man who just crushes it week in and week out. And honestly, I think, but you know, at some point, he might even get a Domey named after him, because without him, this category literally does not exist.
Yeah, it wouldn't exist.
And that's the meme machine himself, Mr. Bootleg Bentley. So tremendous shout out to Bootleg. What up, my dad?
Yeah, I mean, we could have a whole category of just Bootleg Bentley memes. But there were 2 that made the nomination list. So the first was his rendition of the movie American Hustle. It's the classic scene where the character like walks in the door and the music's playing, and you know, they're all joking around with each other. And he did that with like the American Athletic members welcoming UTSA in, and then like laughing at the Conference USA members that got left behind and all that. Just incredible piece of work. So beautiful.
It's so good, because Bradley Cooper's character, like the way he acts demeanor wise within that scene, is so perfect for like UTSA.
Yeah, it's like that young and cocky swagger of like, maybe we don't deserve all the success that we're getting, but we're gonna rub it in your face.
It's the exact embodiment of if you could turn UTSA into a person at this point in their young adolescent athletic story. I mean, that's what they would be, right? The young hotshot lawyers cracking the big case, and there's also, I think, a swagger about that with like, you know, average UTSA student, right? As a little bit of Mr. Cool himself. So I love that whole scene. It's amazing. When that GIF came out, I watched it, dude.
Like, I still watch it all the time.
25 times, dude. Like the other day we watched it. We watched the actual movie at home because it was streaming on whatever. And when that scene came on, I was dying. And Clarissa was like, "What are you?" It was so funny. I was like, "This is the scene. This is the me." Yeah.
Oh man, that's great. Yeah. The other bootleg meme that got nominated was actually a bit of like a living meme, because it was updated every week for 12 weeks. And that was the Grim Reaper meme. Well, I don't know if it went for 12 weeks. But
was it posted after the UNT loss? I don't know if that was posted after that. Yeah.
Well, I was talking about more like, I don't think it started for Illinois like on week 1. I don't know like if we were that confident going in or not.
Right. No, it probably came around week 5 or 6. Yeah.
Probably so. But yeah, man, classic meme of the Grim Reaper walking down a hallway with the
knocking
teams
down
that you say beat on the doors, trail of blood after each of them. And you know, I feel like bootleg really had to go to some extremes to like get the doors to fit like in the meme like that.
Yeah, I was like, where's he getting these with all the doors? You know, because it just at a certain point kept getting longer and longer.
Yeah.
Really impressive, but don't put anything past the meme god, because I mean, if you can think it, he can meme it.
Yeah. If there's a meme, there's a way, right? Well, we said that Coach Taylor was nominated on this list. There were actually a couple tweets that I think could have got him on the meme of the year Domey list. Hopefully he'll keep the great tweets up
Without
for the 2022 Domies. But the one that we thought was most deserving of the nomination was the USTA meme. So of course this was after some Memphis newspaper, blog, radio, I can't remember what it was, but they kept calling UTSA USTA. Right.
Well, it happened a couple of weeks in a row.
Yeah.
So it was like a recurring issue that there was some talking head or some outlet somewhere that was calling UTSA USTA.
Mm-hmm.
It was bound to happen. And it got to the point where the USTA official Twitter account started getting involved with UTSA's Twitter accounts.
Yep.
And it became a lot of fun. And then it got to the point where Traylor decided to take the USTA team roster photo and instead splice heads of UTSA football players over the USTA roster photo. And they're holding the USTA flag. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. And then I think at that point, USTA had like totally hopped on board with us and like changed their name for a day whenever we were playing to UTSA or something. Yeah, it was unbelievable, man. But
the USTA account actually was on the voting form, because like we let the fans vote. Like we collect nominations on Twitter like throughout the year, and then I pick out some of the best of those and put them on a voting form. So the USTA ones were actually on there on the voting form.
On the meme voting form, right?
Yeah. So these 4 memes were actually picked by the fans on that voting form. We had a pretty good response to that one too. I think it was like about just under 200 responses for that one. So thanks to everyone who voted in that. And do keep in mind to nominate any memes that you see to us throughout the next calendar year. We've already got a leader in the clubhouse with, I think it was a Birds of Podcast did the Pirates of the Caribbean one.
Oh yeah.
The collapse of Conference USA, man, beautiful. Can't believe we're doing a teaser for the 2022 Domies. We already have a nominee for it. Well, our last nominee for the 2021 awards was a very emotional meme, and it was a little bittersweet, and that was the Celine Dion Titanic song superimposed over the play of Oscar Cardenas catching the touchdown catch against UAB to win the division. And it really just pulls at your heartstrings, right?
Classic. Yeah.
Yep. I think Bootleg was actually involved in the creation of that meme as well, so he gets a partial credit for that one.
His royalties on that meme for sure.
Dude, he's pulling all the strings on the memes behind the scenes. So earlier I said that fan of the year was our closest one. I think meme of the year is actually the closest. Obviously Boots 2 memes combined.
It's for sure the closest.
Take the majority. But yeah, this was the closest one. Every single meme got at least 75 votes. So it's pretty good.
That's awesome.
But the winner goes to American Hustle meme from Bootleg Bentley. One of the finest college football memes I've ever seen.
Ever.
Other people have done their own versions of that meme, but I don't think any of them registered quite as well as Bootleg's did. And it got a lot of like exposure across college football Twitter. Like I know the Reddit account was tweeting and stuff, and like national sports writers were retweeting it. I mean, it really took off, and very deservedly so.
It was the timing of it, right? The execution of it, just so well done. Bravo to Bootleg, the American Hustle meme, deservedly the winner of the 2021 Domey meme of the year for sure.
Yep.
No doubt. Oh my gosh, it was incredible. Bravo. Yeah, he's a machine.
He's a machine. I know. Sometimes I wonder, why do we even have the award? Because we know that Boot is going to win it every year, but it looks like he's got some strong contention for 2022.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's always great memes though. Absolutely. But for sure, congrats to Bootleg Bentley, and congrats to all Domey's winners. On that note,
absolutely.
It is a huge award. Massive honor to win a Domey, and we really, you know, put a lot into figuring out who is going to be what, but you guys vote for it. And so it's truly the fairest, most just democratic award that exists here at UTSA. And so it's quite the honor indeed to win the vote of the people for a Domey.
Yeah, so definitely keep sending in your nominations for any category. Obviously, meme is the one that we want the most fan interaction on because it's the funniest. But you know, any other categories, feel free to let us know. If this is your first time watching one of our videos or listening to one of our podcasts, because we do post the audio form of this as well, be sure to subscribe. We're on all social media networks, Twitter, Alamo, Audible, Alamodome, Audible, everywhere else. And thanks again to all of our Patreon subscribers that keep us moving, keep us adding new stuff, doing new things, and bringing great coverage and new features and you know, just great stuff to UTSA fans. So thank you guys for watching or listening on whichever medium you may be on, and we'll see you guys back next year for the 2022 Domey Awards.
That's right, for the 2022 Domeys. That's right, indeed.
All right, well, cheers. Thank you guys.